Yo, what's up everyone? Welcome back. My name is Dwayne James and this is Mental Wellness Mondays. This week's topic, we are going to be talking about the docuseries that aired on Lifetime entitled Surviving R.kelly. I'm going to veer away from the pop culture type of discussion that's been going on that I've been noticing that's been happening so far on social media and kind of zoom in and use my lens as a social worker a little bit on one specific component of that documentary that kind of triggered me and stuck out the most to me. And I've also been noticing a lot of comments and feedback on social media, on Twitter, on Instagram about this one component that I want to discuss during this week's video. So during the 6-part docuseries on Lifetime, a constant hashtag even that I've been seeing was, bring our girls home or bring the girls home, which is completely true. Absolutely true. We need to bring our black girls home from being held captive in a sense by this manipulator. And something that I automatically thought about was okay, well, what happens when we do bring them home? How does that look? It's one thing to say bring them home, but that the work is just beginning once they do come home. And I think at times that we kind of forget that, and we don't remember that these are human beings, these are lives that have been affected, these are family dynamics that are being shifted when these young girls do come back home. Now, as I'm watching this documentary, this question is going through my mind where it's just yes, these girls need to be saved, these girls need to come home, but what happens after? What happens after they do come home? And we get to see that with Dominique Gardner, who was rescued by her mom, who saw her on TMZ and was like, yo, I need to go to LA and I need to find my daughter. My daughter's in LA. Finds her daughter, brings her home, and 3 days later, she returns back to the home of R. Kelly. And this was what was triggering for me the most, because I began to see on Twitter, on the Shade Room, on all these different social media platforms, really heinous things, well, she's dumb, why would she do that? What, she didn't want to be saved, all these different ideas. And in reality, it made perfect sense to me. And I think for some people it made sense as well, but I want to explain to you why this made perfect sense and why I anticipated how difficult it will be for somebody like Dominique or like the other girls to return back into society. So there's a clinical term that a lot of psychiatrists, psychologists, and even clinical social workers used called Stockholm Syndrome, right? And Stockholm Syndrome is the feeling of trust or affection felt in many cases of kidnapping or hostage taking by the victim towards the capture. And pretty much what that means is just if somebody has captured me or has kidnapped me and for a very long period of time has kept me captive, my mind, through immense stress and fear, will begin to convince my body, my mind, that this isn't a bad thing. They're here to protect me. And this is something that your mind does to protect yourself, right? So because if you are always at a heightened level of stress and fear, that can begin to have adverse effects on your body. So it's kind of like your body's way of saving itself. This could have possibly been what Dominique was experiencing for being held captive for so long. And because when you are being held captive, this person who's holding you captive can begin to break you down mentally, physically, emotionally, all these different modalities. And once this person does return home, or once they do escape, that is when the real work begins, because their mind has been programmed for so long that where they were is what safety is to them. So that's when the intense psychotherapy will begin. That's when the inpatient therapy will begin, where they're going to be, monitored around the clock to make sure that they are able to transition back into society in a safe and healthy way. So a couple things that we can do, as non-clinicians, as non-therapists and all these things is, if we do encounter somebody who may be recovering from Stockholm Syndrome, is to avoid polarization. And what I mean by that is that we need to be very cognizant and aware that we cannot continue to villainize the perpetrator, right? Because in reality, the victim may still look at this perpetrator as being the savior. So if we continuously try to villainize this person, even though we know that this person is the perpetrator and the villain in the situation, it can begin to disconnect the victim from a healthy recovery. Another great intervention that I think will really help with the process of healing when it comes to somebody healing from Stockholm Syndrome is to listen without judgment and listen with love. And what that means is, like, you know, when a person is healing from any type of trauma, they may constantly ponder or kind of replay the traumatic experiences that have happened to them. And because we do love these individuals, it'll be easy for us to kind of bring our own perspectives and point of views into the conversation. And that can really hinder the growth and hinder the healing process of that individual. So that's when I use the term listening with love, because if I do love you, I want to listen to what you've gone through without interrupting or without letting you know or giving you my perspective or point of view on what should have happened. Overall, I think Lifetime did a phenomenal job with this docuseries, and it really shed light on the tragedy that is happening with these young girls. And I know I'm muting R.kelly, and I highly recommend that you do as well. I already have to block a couple people who were talking crazy on social media. And on that note, that wraps up another episode. If you like what you were hearing, definitely comment, share, hit the like button, something, and let somebody know what's going on over here. And as always, Wednesday we will be doing our live talk on this subject. And as always, guys, have a wonderful week, and don't forget to take care of yourselves.